And 'cause I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the deserts bare, man. I've breathed the mountain air, man. I've traveled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. Been to Tullamore, Seymour, Lismore, Mooloolaba, Nambour, Roochdore, Kilmore, Marillaba, Burstville, Emmaville, Wallaville, Connemara, Connemara, Strathround, Proserpine, Allerdale, Darwin, Gingin, Lilliquin, Muckdilla, Wallumbilla, Bougainville, Cumberland, Rannochville. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the deserts bare, man.
It's time for Regional Roundup. And Grant, we're going off to Halls Gap in Victoria today. And do you know who our mystery guest is?
I have a feeling we've heard of him before.
Yes, it is. Rob Cameron, hello.
Good morning to you, gentlemen. I'm coming to you from a glen beside a brook in Halls Gap.
How is Brooke and how is Glenn?
They're both, well, too early to tell. They were good last night, but we haven't really spent much time with them today because it's so gloomy, just stuck inside this little four-wheeled box that has been delightful. It's just something totally different. I'm quite enjoying it.
Now, last week you were in Keith in South Australia. Yesterday it is alleged you were in Torquay doing a radio program from down there, and now you're in Halls Gap. Are you ever home?
This week, no, it would seem not, but it's been interesting. Must give the station a bit of a plug. The G21 forum yesterday at Torquay was wonderfully done by the station and wonderfully done by G21, and hopefully the listeners that are listening this morning, a few of them tuned in. It was a great promotion of our great region. Thoroughly enjoyed that. But today it's about relaxation, Neil.
Excellent. And all about the Grampians region where we'll find Halls Gap. What do people do up in Halls Gap, Robert?
Well, I think it's just rest, although you'd think at our age we rest, but there's a lot of people dressed like hikers this morning. There's lots of mountains and they're being took upon by the hikers. It's just a wonderful place to come and experience nature. That's probably Halls Gap's great strength and the Grampians in general. I have a work colleague now who's one of those clever and also quite silly rock climbers. They come up here and they don't just climb, they climb those sheer walled rock things, which is another sport that a lot of people come up to this region for. But also, Neil, and you would know well because you have a very good friend up here, people come up here to drink wine as well.
I believe, now I've only heard a rumour to this effect, there's a very, very fine podcast called the Grampians Wine Podcast. I'm not sure who hosts that, but yes.
He's very good.
Well, he says he is. There's a number of very fine wineries up there. And interestingly enough, Rob, without wishing to drop this into the conversation, they sell some very, very nice Shiraz.
Yeah.
I believe you have to purchase one today, Rob.
Neil, I don't want to disappoint you. The Shiraz you'll be getting will not be coming from Chateau Mountainside Wine. It will be coming from some chateau somewhere else.
Yes, with the emphasis on the first syllable. So, yes, the Grampians, I think, is probably getting close to Victoria's most popular regional tourist centre, would be, wouldn't it, Rob?
No, I think the Great Ocean Road still is for visitation, but I believe the Grampians might have it for accommodation.
Right, because one of the other things they've opened up in the Gwamps in recent times, I'm led to believe, of course, Garraward is its indigenous name, is there's a walk along the top, and it's some ridiculous length, like 125 kilometres or something, starts up near Ararat or up that end somewhere, and goes all the way down to Dunkeld, and you can camp along there as well and all sorts of stuff, and I'm led to believe that some of the wineries even have a delivery service.
Yes, do.
Yeah, so you get up on top there and have a walk, and someone comes along and brings a bottle of wine. You'll find actually today that most of the wineries are closed in the Grampians region because there's a big festival happening in Ballarat, and many of them are over there at the minute. So if you are rushing out to buy a bottle of Shiraz in lieu of the result of the football last week, you mightn't miss out today.
Now, I've been doing a bit of investigation on this subject, Neil. I'm not a red wine drinker, as you know, but why is Shiraz so much dearer than Chardonnay?
It's probably because it's nicer. Why is Chardonnay so much more expensive than methylated spirits?
Because it's nicer. Very good.
You could have gone with Riesling, Neil. You didn't need to be that silly. Chardonnay is still quite a nice drop on a sunny afternoon with a bicky and cheese.
Yes, indeed. In that neck of the woods, Riesling is also a very, very fine drop. So basically, in that part of the world, Shiraz is the go-to. And you would think that with 20 wineries in the Grampians, the Shiraz would all taste pretty much the same. But some of them are on their vineyards are on the east side of the Grampians. Some are on the west side of the Grampians. So some get morning sun, some get afternoon sun. Some have got different soils. The microorganisms in the soil. It's just an extraordinary science. And it does sound like a plug for that podcast. podcast. But it's really interesting to listen to the winemakers talk about why their wine tastes the way it does. But Riesling's kind of number two. So everyone does a Shiraz, most of them do a Riesling, and then there's a scattering of others, including, I think we spoke to a bloke down at Lower Norton, Rob, on Regional Roundup, and they do a Chardonnay. So down sort of the Horsham end of the Grampians.
Yep, that must be lower being the operative word there. Tell me, Neil, are you one of these clever people because of the amount of Shiraz that you've drank in your time? Which would be?
So I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Can you actually take a sip and know exactly which side of the Grampians hill the grapes were grown on?
No, I can't. But if you give me the bottle, I can.
No, that's cheating.
There's very limited. There's only sort of 3 or 4 of them on the eastern side of the Grampians. Most of them are on the northern end of the Grampians, from sort of Hall's Gap in around Armstrong. Pomonal is a really nice spot out at Pomonal if you want to go and have a bite to eat out there at Pomonal Estate. There's of course up towards where Mount Langy-Duran and Great Western, of course, is the centre of all of it.
Question without notice to the 19th man. Grant, was Elvis Presley a wine drinker?
I don't believe so. There's a footage of him taking a glass of wine at a show. He has a sip and gives it away. He more Mountain Valley Springwater man, apparently.
Oh, okay. Either that or it was Chardonnay.
I'm more of a foodie person myself, Rob. What can you invite yourself up there today while you're having your lunch, watching the Cats take on the Dockers, perhaps at the local pub?
Well, we were thinking about going to look at Mountainside Wines or one of them today, and because of the weather we might change our mind. It could be just fish and chips across the road. But there is a lovely restaurant, I believe it's called Fire Brothers, which is beautiful looking. We know we have a fantastic Chinese restaurant in town, which I believe, Indian restaurant in town, which I believe use robots to serve the meal.
Okay.
We're intrigued to have a look at this. If this is modern dining, we probably should be all over it.
Well, of course, they use robots and you use highly talented and intelligent people to prompt you.
Correct.
Yeah. Good morning, Robin.
Really, which is really handy. Good morning, Robin. Yes.
Well, if you are, in all seriousness, if you're going to the wineries up there, tomorrow is a better day because today in Ballarat, there's about 25 of the wineries have represented a thing called the Red Series at the Miners Exchange, and they're down there selling the wares of the Grampians and the Pyrenees wine districts down there. So, you won't find too many of them open if you were going looking.
What's the local football like up there? They have competitions up that way?
It's sporadic. Certainly, Hall's Gap don't. They've got a beautiful oval, but last night as we come in, it was typically covered in kangaroos and a few tourists and cameras. That's the only sport that's played on that oval these days, it seems. I think they had a cricket team some time ago, but that's gone away. But like in the case of regional footy, Grant, so many teams have disappeared, merged, come together. This was part of the, I suppose there's a Horsham and District League.
There is.
Maybe Hall's Gap played in, and then there's the Central Highlands comes from the Ballarat end and pushes this way, and I think Ararat have a couple of teams that play in the Horsham District League, but again they're shrivelling as well. Even town clubs around Horsham are disappearing. In fact, this has been mentioned before on the show, but it's always worth mentioning again. The Oyen United Football Club is the collaboration of 21 original football clubs. So that's the way sport is up here, and it's very sad because for those of us who have been involved in community sport, to lose the hub of your community, it's a really sad thing. And Hall's Gap has certainly lost that, but they pick it up in many other ways because they're all busy on Saturday and Sunday entertaining.
Drinking wine. And now on the Two Blokes Chatting Radio Show, Grant is going to list the 21 clubs that, no, you won't. And of course, Moyston's not very far from where you are as we speak, and that is the home of Australian rules football where Thomas Wills came from. And if you get to Clayfield Wines in Moyston, just ask old mate there, I've forgotten his name, first name, I can see his face, just ask him to mention it, and 2.5 hours later you'll get the end of the story. Rob Cameron, we are coming up to 11 o'clock, which means under normal circus pants it would be Sports Fix, but you're in Hall's Gap, so I look to my left and I see a handsome young man, I know, it's David Steele, who's going to be here playing some very fine music from 11.
And thanks, Steelo, too, for his time yesterday morning. He gave up his day to make sure that broadcast from Torquay happened, and Robert Eagle's back in the studio, and again, the wonderful things that the people at Pulse do to keep the station going, and you two are well involved in that as well. So good on us for doing what we do, and time to have a little pat on the back and hope the listeners enjoy all the variety of nonsense that comes your way.
And we've had 2 hours of it now. It goes into high quality mode from here. Robert Cameron, can you come in next week and fill in for Grant? He's not available for the next few weeks.
I will make a special effort to come in next Saturday morning, Neil, and help you out. And I hope you have a good time, Grant, and get back soon.
No worries. Good on you, Rob. We look forward to having you back. I love listening to you two chat. So all the best for your time up in Halls Gap this week, though.
Thanks, mate. Best wishes.
Travel safely, won't you?
We will indeed. We're looking forward to a fun day up here once the rain clears.
Best to Robin. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.